What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for Monday Night Raw review for June the 22nd, 2020, on the road to Extreme Rules. This, of course, episode was on tape delay last week. This episode, of course, was taped after WWE was stopped on Tuesday of last week taping. This was originally supposed to be taped on Tuesday, but they had a positive case of COVID-19 on one of their PC talents, so they had to scrap that and get us for Wednesday. Tonight was the Championship Monday with supposed to be four title matches. The Raw Tag Team Championships, the Women's Tag Team Championships, the Raw Women's Championship, and then the 24/7 I-95 7-Eleven Eurocontinental Heavyweight Championship that no one gives a shit about were all to be on the line tonight. Plus, Ric Flair was to be in the show tonight to anoint and crown Randy Orton, the greatest wrestler of all time. And telling you what, coming out of that segment, we are set for major disappointments. But the crowd, we started the show off with our WWE Champion, Drew McIntyre. He talks about how WWE R2 24/7 Champion R-Truth accepted the match on his behalf last week. But now it's time to move on and look towards the future. Out comes Dolph Ziggler. If you didn't know, Dolph Ziggler was drafted to Monday Night Raw for AJ Styles. He does come out and tells us that not only Dolph Ziggler has been brought to Monday Night Raw, but his tag team partner. So apparently, even though he's been in Canada for the last 4 months, Robert Roode is now back on Monday Night Raw with Dolph Ziggler as well. When he comes back, whenever that's going to be, that is good. We hopefully get to see him back. I mean, that would be great for the tag team division because Monday Night Raw does not have a tag team division. They desperately need a tag team division. So that would be great to see Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler back in the tag team division just to bump up the tag team division overall. Now, Dolph Ziggler says that told Drew McIntyre that he's happy, like nobody's happy to see him WWE champion more than me. And I don't want to see you lose that WWE Championship for any reason until you give me what I am owed. Drew's like, you have to let me, buddy. What do I owe you? He lists everything about him being here years ago, getting fired, coming back to WWE. Everything that has happened in Drew McIntyre's career up to this point is because of Dolph Ziggler. And Dolph Ziggler feels that he is owed a WWE Championship match. Drew's like, listen, man. What happened to you? You are becoming exactly what we despised. And that is an entitled bitch. Pretty much. He didn't say those words, but he said entitled, crybaby, something like that. And he's like, you really want this match? And you didn't. Like, Dolph Ziggler did not bring the mic up, but he's just mouthing something. And Drew McIntyre is like, it's official. At Extreme Rules, it will be Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE Championship. That's all fine and good, I guess, but what has Dolph Ziggler done to deserve a WWE Championship match? He lost to Otis at WrestleMania. He lost the Money in the Bank briefcase, the Money in the Bank qualifying match. Yes, he beat Otis Mandy Rose got beat by Sonya Deville in their tag team match, but Dolph Ziggler hasn't won a damn match in a good long while. So just because he asked for a WWE Championship match, he is deserving of a WWE Championship match? No. But I see what they're trying to do. It is filler. They have nobody else. Kevin Owens could have maybe been on that docket, but after what happened with the CV-19 and his family not feeling comfortable about him working after somebody had an outbreak, Kevin Owens is off the TV. Whatever he was going to do with Apollo Crews or with Drew McIntyre or anything else is off the table. The obvious continuation of this would have been Randy Orton. Randy Orton coming off that great great match, main event at Backlash, which of course wasn't the greatest wrestling match ever. It was a great one, but it wasn't the greatest ever. You really can't sit there and say one match is going to be the greatest ever because not everyone's going to be satisfied with that match. But Apparently, obviously, Drew McIntyre needs an opponent before we get to SummerSlam. Randy Orton makes sense for SummerSlam. He is really the only one that Drew McIntyre has to build up to be against him going into SummerSlam. And you don't want to waste the first match between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton at a B-level show, or a C-level show, in Extreme Rules, which looks like they took the logo of the Hardy Boys, this logo style of the original Hardy Boys logo, and just made it into the Extreme Rules logo. It looks like shit. So we have Dolph Ziggler versus Drew McIntyre, the first match named for Extreme Rules. So let's see here. Nia's that's it for them. Tom waits to make sure the match is going to be official. They start talking about the rest of the show. When Nia Jax music hits, she comes out, and she is not happy, especially after what happened last week. Double count out at Backlash, fast count by the referee last week on Monday Night Raw because she shoved him. She sits in the ring, we go to break, we come back, and she is just complaining. It must be Monday, throwing out that stupid fucking commercial line that we get every once in a while. It must be Monday, it's Monday Night Raw, fuck that shit. But she's like, oh, Charlotte Flair got what she wanted as usual. She just went back and wooed and got a championship match tonight, which honestly is true. Charlotte Flair could just walk back and like, Vince, I want a WWE champion. I'm sorry, Vince, I want a women's championship match. Can you give it to me on Monday Night Raw? Woo. And then she gets the title match. WWE does not want to push anybody new. You brought Bianca Belair from NXT at WrestleMania. Where has she been? Main event. Catering. Shayna Baszler. Where has Shayna Baszler been? MIA. She doesn't even get on main event. Why? Because Vince McMahon wants to push Charlotte, Asuka, and Nia Jax. Those are the big three. Yes, we saw Liv Morgan, Natalya, Lana later in the show. We'll talk about that later. But like, if you're not having anyone else getting elevated by Asuka, Charlotte, or Nia Jax, what is the fucking point? You need more than just 3 women for this division to fucking matter. And honestly, Asuka got the win last week. Charlotte needs to move on, which it looks like after things happen later in the show, that is possibly going to be happening. Thank you. But we'll talk about what's going to be happening going on later. Out comes R-Truth to interrupt. Jax isn't in the mood for the stuff. Akira Tozawa appears after R-Truth talks, and I really didn't care. His ninjas also appear. They chase Truth away. Jax is still in the ring. She's not happy. Jax says she was cheated at Backlash and screwed over again by a biased referee the next night. Jax says Charlotte gets what she wants because her dad is Hall of Famer Ric Flair. I'm sorry, I keep calling her Charlotte, but she doesn't deserve that name. Ric Flair's daughter comes out. They have more words. Ric Flair's daughter says, you know what's really going on here? Nia squandered her opportunities. Nia dropped the ball. Go figure. Now, Nia continues to say that Ric Flair, the only reason you get what you want is because you're Ric Flair's daughter. Ric Flair's daughter says, well, actually my dad goes by a new name, Charlotte Flair's dad. No, I'm sorry. You will forever, no matter what you do in your career, because of how much you have been handed in your career, will always and forever be Ric Flair's daughter. It will never be the other way, no matter fucking what, you simpleton. Now, she's getting in the ring, and she's about ready to... She's like, what's this comeback? What's her comeback going to be? Is she going to mention The Rock? She does mention, speaking of family... Hold on. Before she says anything else, it felt like she was going to mention the fact that Nia has been getting opportunities and has been in the position she is in, hurting people and getting away with it because she's The Rock's cousin. But we don't get that because Nia interrupts and is like, you have been ducking me for years. You have not beaten me. You've beaten everyone else, but you haven't beaten me. The one time we faced off one-on-one a few years ago, I beat you. And the one who is worthy enough to take your crown is me. Ric Flair's daughter isn't happy about that. They have fights. Out comes referees to try and break it up. Nia eats a kick to the face. They continue to brawl. Ric Flair's daughter is holding her shoulder, holding her arm and wrist. She is injured before her match later on tonight. Apparently, this was supposed to be the spot of Asuka versus Ric Flair's daughter, and that did not happen. WWE likes to have those little, well, you'll watch it, you'll see this match later. We look back at what they want to call a feud, but the laughingstock of the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits, or the Viking Profits. Oh, my head is just saying that. The two teams are backstage. They are friends, but the bell rings. It's on. The two teams go to walk off to the ring, and then we see Zelina Vega after they leave the screen. We see Zelina Vega come in. She's just looking, and then has this evil looking grin on her face. And we go to commercial break. We come back from break. We go to the ring. The Viking Raiders are out first. The Street Profits are out next. And unlike last week, where they decided we're going to do a nice little prance around the crowd, we go down the ramp like we should. So we get the formal ring introduction. Ivar and Dawkins go at it in the start. There's chaos. Oh, by the way, we are 34 minutes into this show by the time this match starts. We went 3 segments on this show without a single fucking wrestling match. Or any type of wrestling match. We had to wait over a half an hour from Drew McIntyre handing out a WWE Championship opportunity. Nia Jax crying and moaning and complaining like a bitch. Ric Flair's daughter coming out there being a pompous bitch that she is as usual. This show started off so fucking horrendous. So horrendous. There's chaos as Ford and Eric also get involved. Ford gets sent to the floor. Dawkins takes the hammer of Thor, double team in the corner, but he kicks out at 2. Which they call that when I think it's Eric lifts up Ivar and throws him into the opponent. They call that the hammer of Thor now. Which, by the way, the Viking experience in NXT was known as Thor's hammer. So there you go. WWE taking that awful tag team name, renaming their finisher after that name, and then taking the original finisher name, twisting the way it was sounding, and renaming just naming another move after it. Ford runs the ropes and leaps out, but Eric catches him in the midair. Eric launches forward and puts him down hard, then yells out and goes to the commercial as we go to commercial break. Which he threw him into Dawkins. That was brutal looking. More back and forth as the break. Profits end up using the Viking experience on Eric, but kicks out as Ivar comes in and goes at it with Ford. Ivar with a big back elbow. Ivar sends Ford to the floor and yells out. Ford comes back in and ends up kicking Ivar in the head. Ivar comes back with a big boot. Dawkins and Eric come in the cart and do cartwheels. The two team faces off. God, I don't want. WWE is supposed to be the big leagues, where the indie stuff is not there anymore. We don't see indie garbage. So when these 4 guys are all cartwheeling at the same time during this match, I'm like, am I watching a Game Changer wrestling match or a bar? Oh, I'm sorry, bar wrestling is not a thing anymore. Or any of these other, as Creep Cornette would say, these outlaw mud shows with these stupid ass hijinks. I don't watch WWE Raw to see men like wrestlers and two tag teams doing cartwheels around the ring. It looked fucking stupid. Eric slams both the champions at the same time with a huge move. Ivar goes up top with a huge splash, but Dawkins moves. Dawkins with the cash out. Ford goes up top, hits the big splash as Dawkins takes out Eric to prevent him from stopping the pin. Ford nails the splash as Ivar covers on Ivar as he covers for the 1, 2, 3. And finally, what this whole entire feud started at is that the Viking Raiders always had the number of the Street Profits. In NXT, on Monday Night Raw, the Street Profits could not beat the Viking Raiders. And finally, after months and months and months of the Viking Raiders teasing them about it, and weeks and weeks and weeks of bullshit fucking shit promos and video packages of the anything you can do, we can do better series, we have a definitive win, and the Street Profits retain the tag team titles. They are your winners. After the match, they all hug, they all raise each other's hands. The Viking Raiders leave, and then all of a sudden, from behind, from the ring belt, from the timekeeper's area, Andrade and Angel Garza come out, and they beat the hell out of the Street Profits for a bit. The Viking Raiders come back in. Andrade and Angel Garza slide out of the ring, taunt these guys. Oh, did we hurt your friends? Did we hurt your friends? Oh, and they said a couple things in Spanish. I have no idea what the fuck they said. But it looks like the Street Profits will finally have new tag team challengers. Now, what have these two done to deserve a tag team title opportunity? Again, nothing. They have been losers for weeks. Losers for weeks. And they expect me to believe that they're viable for the tag team championships. Now, granted, if these guys start picking up momentum and start winning matches, I could see them being tag team champions. They should not win the titles at Extreme Rules. They should lose by just count out or disqualification or something. But you build them up. You have them beat teams. I don't care if they're jobbers or whatnot. Have them beat talent from NXT. Have them go out there, win matches. And then when we get to SummerSlam, you have Andrade and Angel Garza versus the Street Profits at SummerSlam, with the Street Profits dropping the titles to Zelina Vega's crew, which she needs to give them a fucking name, because I'm tired of saying, I like when you say the Viking Raiders or the Street Profits. I don't want to keep saying Garza and Andrade. Give me a fucking name already. They've been teaming for almost a year, over half a year. Seth Rollins is backstage. He's just in a catatonic state. He's just looking off into the distance. Murphy and Theory, which apparently Austin Theory might not have his first name anymore, because I don't hear Austin Theory, I just hear Theory half the time. Rollins says, they try to talk, and he puts his black gloved hand up and says, I have a message for Rey Mysterio tonight, and soon all will be revealed. He steps straight ahead. They walk away, and we go to break. Seth Rollins is definitely owning this fucking gimmick. He is just, I mean, like when they first started this thing at the beginning of the year, he seemed like a delusional guy who's just going to be a delusional guy, a delusional heel. But he's really coming into his own with this heel work. This has been Seth Rollins' best run on WWE television since he won the Intercontinental title. Was Monday Night Rollins 2 years ago. This has definitely been great for his character. Back from break, and Tom shows us what happened with Dominick Mysterio last week with Seth Rollins when he attacked him from behind and was able to thwart Theory and Murphy. We go backstage to Rollins now. He says, sometimes in life we are destined for roles beyond our choice. I did not choose to be the Monday Night Messiah, just as Rey Mysterio did not choose to be sacrificed. The difference is, I've embraced my role for the greater good, while Rey has been defiant. And defiance breeds suffering. He goes on about allowing his son to get involved in this situation. He says, whatever becomes of Rey and his son from this moment on, that's on you. The greater good is coming for us all, and there's nothing Rey can do to stop it. Rollins says he has heard. It says that legends never die, but they sure as hell can outlive their welcome. We go back to the announcers who hype Rey Mysterio's return for later in the night. Tom shows us what happened between Nia Jax and Ric Flair's daughter earlier in the night. Flair's daughter is shown walking in the trainer's room with kinesio tape on her arm. Charlie Caruso asks her if she thought about postponing tonight's match. She says she doesn't postpone. This is what we do. This is not ballet. Can I just stop there for a second? Why does WWE talent continue to harp on ballet? Motherfuckers, I'm no dancer. I'm no ballet dancer or anything. But they have to do. It's not easy to be a ballet dancer. If it was, anybody could fucking do it. Those women and those men who do that shit, they go through some shit to be able to be as good as they can be. So I don't get why WWE continues to harp on, oh, this isn't ballet. Go with something else. This isn't a walk in the park. How hard is that to go with? Stop harping on something that clearly is not an easy task to do. It takes a lot of time and dedication, just like professional wrestling, just like any sport that you're going to, just like any career path that you want to do, just like what I'm doing here. This takes time and dedication to get better at. Why do they continue to harp on something like that? This is no walk in the park. This is tough shit. This is what you should be saying. This is no walk in the park. Stop harping on ballet. I don't know why you need to do that. Yes, it looks easy. So does fucking professional wrestling. So does being a football player. So does being a basketball player. Everything that you see, hockey, baseball, anything you see like that, all looks easy when in fact it's not. Just like this isn't. Just like a streamer on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So just like anything else like that. Just like any other art form out there, it's not fucking easy. Stop trying to compare that WWE is a lot harder than ballet, because I'm telling you what, I guarantee you a lot of ballet dancers out there will tell you that's bullshit. Anyway, she walks away. She says she'll be fine. Her arm will be fine holding up that Raw Women's Championship. Charlie walks over to Zelina Vega, Angel Garza, and Andrade. She tries to be a little flirty with Angel Garza, who's there immediately. She asks about the unprovoked attack on the Street Profits. Garza talks about going for what you want. When you know we want something, it's like making love to a beautiful woman, and I just want to gag myself with a fucking spoon. I am a guy who does not need to see another guy openly flirting on television, or a woman openly flirting on television. Keep that shit behind closed doors. Thank you very much. Vega says her clients are a united front. They have put their differences aside and have turned them into strengths. And soon they will become, Andrade gets the mic and says, Raw Tag Team Champions, pointing him and Angel Garza. Again, they need to earn the spot. I don't want to see the Street next week on Monday Night Raw. The Street Profits will take on Angel Garza and Andrade in a non-title match, and then lo and behold, Angel Garza and Andrade beat the Street Profits. So at Extreme Rules, it's a tag team title match. I don't need to see that. Raw Women's Championship match, Ric Flair's daughter versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. This was just another case of Asuka doing everything she can to make this woman look good, and Ric Flair's daughter doing everything she can to not make Asuka look good. How many times do we see this woman go out there and barely sell an injury? She is supposed to be having this really messed up arm, and she's not selling anything. Asuka is doing everything she can to make this championship match worth a damn. And of course, Ric Flair's daughter does everything she can to sabotage Asuka in the end. But in the end, finally, after so long, and the match was what it was. Asuka did everything she could. Puts her into the Asuka lock, and she counters her multiple times. Ric Flair's daughter tries to get this on, that on. Asuka continues to work on the arm, gets her into the Asuka lock in a very painful looking way, and makes her tap out. So for the first time, Asuka beat Ric Flair's daughter. Now, you would like to think that this was great for Asuka. She beat her clean. Unfortunately, if you watch the match, she was injured the entire time. Not during the match, she was injured before the match. So when she comes out on Monday Night Raw next week or the week after that, she has a gripe that Asuka only beat her because she was injured before the match. Count on it. That is what WWE is going to do. Oh, the only reason you beat me is because I only had one working arm. Really? Because, you beat her at WrestleMania in that match that should have went the other way with only one arm. Why couldn't you do it this time, They're going to use this as an out to make sure she is still protected. They can't let Ric Flair's daughter lose clean without some kind of gripe or some kind of thing, some kind of some kind of caveat to it to keep her protected because she's a cut above the rest, including Asuka. Nobody is allowed to beat the queen, the false queen, fair and square without any caveats. It's the truth. After the match, Asuka sits up and is handed the title and the music hits. Ric Flair's daughter sits on the corner and looks disappointed. We see Nia Jax backstage who was watching the match, and they showed her a couple times watching the match. Carly Caruso approaching and asks if she thinks her fight with Ric Flair's daughter had anything to do with the outcome. Jax said she says, I think it'd be a real shame for someone to kick the queen while she's down. What does that mean? We'll find out later. Still to come, Ric Flair to present Edge, Randy Orton with the greatest wrestling ever. Also, Edge will provide us with a medical update. Back from break, we see what happened with Christian and Randy Orton last week. We see Hall of Famer Edge in a ring at his home. Probably in his home because if you watch the Edge documentary they did a couple months ago, he had a ring set up in his house, or not at his house, but like in a garage area or something. We see Hall of Famer Edge in the ring. He says Orton won the backlash, but he doesn't think that didn't prove him to be the best wrestler ever. Edge says Orton did tear his tricep with that RKO out of the corner, but he kicked out and kept fighting. Edge goes on and mentions watching Raw last week where Orton declared himself as the best wrestler ever. Edge is disappointed he didn't see the low blow coming, and more disappointed that he didn't do it first. But that won't happen again. It says Orton has lit a fire in his gut, reminding him that he's a legend killer. Edge says this match and this injury, not being able to pick up his daughters on Father's Day, which I'm not a dad. I'm sure that had to fucking suck. Having your tricep wrapped up and everything out post-surgery and not be able to, pick your kids up. I don't know how that feels, and it probably sucks. Christian, the punk kid, showed him that he had something in him. Also, the punt kick and what he did to Christian. Christian has been his best friend, walking him through every trial and tribulation. He gets very angry when he says trials and tribulation of his life. Orton did that, but he said the PT superstar who's been walking around happy to be back, he put him to bed for that. Edge is thankful. Orton woke up the side of him that will sink to any level to get what he wants. He doesn't care how many backs he has to bruise, how many backs he has to break, bruises he has to step on to get to the top. He doesn't care about wrestling matches now. He's going to embarrass and emasculate Orton. He goes on about how he will affect Orton's family. He goes screaming louder than the voice in Orton's head. He will go into every aspect of Orton's life, tearing him down brick by brick from the inside. Edge says Orton has no idea what he's done. He's woke up the evil. He woke up the rated R superstar. Orton tells Edge to get some sleep while he can. This Edge has been one of the most consistent promos in WWE since this era has happened, since this COVID-19 bullshit has been going on. However, is Edge really as injured as he's been reported? I mean, he did have surgery. Maybe it was one of those things that it wasn't as bad. We don't know. Of course, a torn tricep is going to leave you out for the rest of this year going in. He probably wouldn't be back till WrestleMania next year at the earliest, I should say, if it was an actual torn tricep, like a full-blown torn tricep. Maybe it was partial. We don't know. I mean, yes, if it's partial, you still got to have surgery if you want it to work. But a partial, I don't know how long that would take, but I'm sure it would be back a lot sooner. If Edge is able to come back for SummerSlam, then I don't know what they do with Drew McIntyre. Maybe Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre have their match at SummerSlam, and Edge comes back at SummerSlam to screw Randy Orton out of that match, and we continue this storyline, if he's able to. The storyline going into whatever the hell the September pay-per-view is going to be. Charlie catches up with Randy Orton backstage. He cuts her off and he asks if she knows what a snake does when he feels threatened. It's like any other animal. It's going to strike wildly. If you back it into a corner, sometimes blindly, it's going to do what it has to do to survive. Edge and Christian tried to have their comebacks at his expense, but he's going to do what he has to do to defend his family, his livelihood. what he has to do to survive. It's Mother Nature. He sincerely hopes Edge and Christian reach a full recovery, and he believes they can live long, full lives as long as they do it far, far away from him. He excuses himself and says he needs to have words with Ric Flair because coming up soon is going to be the anointment of the greatest wrestler ever. Back from break, Charlie Caruso approaches Ric Flair's daughter, who is icing her shoulder. She's not happy, but she gives Asuka credit because that's the only way, and I knew they were going to go that way. The only way she can lose is because her arm was already injured. I knew they were going to go down there, but before she could finish that sentence, the irresistible force known as Nia Jax comes from behind, beats up Ric Flair's daughter around, taunting her. She slams her injured arm into a storage bin, then taunts her with a woo before leaving when the officials run up to check on Ric Flair's daughter. And if you watch that segment back, God, her selling is so atrocious. So atrocious. This woman has regressed so badly. I'm telling you now. Okay, so WWE on Sunday posted a video clip from the 24 special, and it's 24 special extra, when Ashley Flair, aka Ric Flair's daughter, aka Charlotte Flair, from 2008 after he retired from the ring. And she was just talking what her dad meant to me, what he meant to her, and what he meant to professional wrestling. And you watch this video clip, and you just see the difference from 2008 to 2020. She felt real in these words. She felt genuine. She didn't look like she was made of plastic. She looked and sounded like a real human being. What happened? She came to the WWE. She got on the main roster. Vince McMahon didn't think she looked good enough, so she had to go out and get some plastic surgery. I would not want to be in her shoes, because WWE is pushing her as the be-all, end-all in the women's division, and we all know she's not the best in the ring. The two best in the ring on the main roster, because Becky's out having a baby, are the two tag team champions of Sasha Banks and Bayley. Now, she had her arm destroyed. What you want to bet that next week on Monday Night Raw, she'll be back as if nothing happened? I would not put it past WWE. Have her show up on Monday Night Raw next week, and she's just completely fine. That's just the way WWE wants to do. She has to be this god of things, and it's just so sickening how much WWE just caters to this woman. 24/7, I-95, 7-Eleven match, don't really give a shit. Akira Tozawa wins the title after Bobby Lashley and MVP come out and destroy him beforehand, killing all the ninjas. Backstage, Sarah Schreiber is trying to get a word and see what happens to Ric Flair's daughter's shoulder. Natalia appears and says the women's division at this time needs her leadership. Asuka's great champion, but they need somebody like me. She says, well, you should be trying to find me for an interview, but I had this big announcement, but you're going to have to wait because my match with Liv Morgan is next. Liv Morgan versus Natalia. Who gives a shit? Because they certainly don't give a shit about Liv Morgan. Natalia comes out with Lana. If you remember last week, Lana and Natalia had themselves a little buddy moment. And Lana, I guess, is going to be managing her now. Is it going to be a women's tag team? I don't give a shit. Lana needs to stay out of the fucking ring, and Natalia can go for all I care. But they have themselves about a 3-minute match. Liv Morgan gets distracted by Lana, and of course she gets her leg taken out, turned into a sharpshooter, and she wins. After that, we go to the back, and before we get to this one, right before, 10 minutes before, 20 minutes before this next segment, WrestleVotes put out a picture of an article from 2013. Randy Orton defeats The Big Show at Extreme Rules, in which they put 2013 with a rolling eyes emoji. We're getting The Big Slow versus Randy Orton at Extreme Rules. This is their vision for Monday Night Raw. We went from building to the future to being stuck in the past. Now, if nobody has watched it yet, if you haven't watched it yet, The Undertaker's Last Ride, episode number 5, is on the WWE Network now. Premiered yesterday. Well, I watched it when it came on the band. I didn't wait till 8 o'clock. And in that episode, in the finale of it, Undertaker said, if Vince McMahon needs my help, I will be there. I'll have to think about it. They need any help they can get. They refuse to build new stars and build to the future, so let's rely on Christian last week, Ric Flair 2 weeks in a row, and The Big Show 2 weeks in a row. This is getting out of hand. But Charlie Cruiser stops Big Show backstage and they joke about how he fought off a bunch of ninjas last week. He's happy that he's like, when's the next time I'm going to get to punch a ninja? Plugs his Netflix show, which my dad watched and I was going to watch, but I'm like, not a big comedy television guy. I mean, Family Guy and American Dad are my thing, but not live action. He says he's not here to have fun this week. He's here to get payback for his friends. He can do what he wants when he wants to, when that angry giant, that angry, pissed off giant inside of him comes out and says, the world's largest athlete is staying in the back tonight, but heading into the ring right now is a heartless, angry, pissed off giant. So we go to the ring and out comes Ric Flair. He's here to kiss up to a guy, Mr. Randy Orton. So we go to break, we come back, and it is official that Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler will be at Extreme Rules. But there's no stipulation. The pay-per-view is called Extreme fucking Rules. Where is the Extreme Rules? The tables match, the ladders match, the chairs match, any fucking stipulation you can give me. Where is it for this match? What the fuck? This should have a stipulation. Maybe they'll add one later on. But it's called Extreme Rules. I want stipulations on all these matches. Give me a fucking break. Back from break, and Dolph Ziggler and the WWE Champion. We already did that one, I'm sorry. Ric Flair opens his promo about his daughter earlier tonight. She says when she comes back, Nia Jax will want to be in a different environment. He says he better be afraid of his daughter when she comes back. Who gives a shit? Well, if it keeps his daughter out of the women's championship picture for, I don't know, at least a fucking month, then I'm all for it. He goes on praising Randy Orton, saying he punted. By the way, Ric Flair, watching this, it was really sad. Ric Flair looked absolutely horrible. Horrible. He looks so old. He looks old as fuck. And it looks like, I'm not trying to sound mean or anything, he looks like he's on his last legs of life because, my God, he was stumbling his words. You could hardly understand what the hell he was talking about. He says Orton is the greatest and he wants to tell him to his face in front of millions of people, so out comes Randy Orton. Flair says he's been waiting for this moment. He goes on praising Orton, calling him the greatest wrestler in history. Orton takes the mic and mentions being half of Evolution. He talks about Flair, how Flair proved he is still the dirtiest player in the game last week, how it was nostalgic for him showing that, how it was nostalgic of him injuring Edge and Randy Orton. Not Randy Orton, but Edge and Christian. He says this isn't nostalgic, it's just cementing his legacy. He's become the best wrestler ever in just a span of 2 days. And talks about being the legend killer. And he goes on to talk some more, but out comes the Big Show, who's had enough. He enters the ring and Orton moves behind Ric Flair. Show isn't going to let Flair and Orton glorify what Orton did. Edge and Christian are Show's friends. Oh, boo-hoo, Show, you friends got hurt. What are you gonna do? Turn on your tights and give us another slog of a match at Extreme Rules. A chick. Orton has been a parasite since day one, and he's always leeching off of others. And you leave, and after you're done leeching, you leave the husk to die. Your latest man is somebody I used to respect, Ric Flair. He goes on and believes Edge will get his payback, but not by himself, because Show also wants to break every bone in his body. Orton says Show won't hurt a hair on Flair's head, and he won't hurt Orton because they came up together. I don't know where the fuck he's been looking. But Big Show was in WWE for at least 4 years before you came in, and he was in WCW for at least 3 years, if I'm correct, before you were wrestling. Orton praises the show and kisses up to him, calling him a future Hall of Famer and a legend. He ends up with an exiting ring before things get physical. Orton and Show stare each other down, saving the fight for another night. Orton tells Show that what happens next is on Show. Tell him and Flair both leave. So, yes, at Extreme Rules, we're getting Randy Orton versus The Big Show. Instead of doing something that would, elevate a new star, what does Orton need from Big Show? You see, back in 2003 and 2004, the Legend Killer thing was fine because it was elevating a new star. You were building Randy Orton to something better. Why do we need the Legend Killer now? We don't. Why do we need to be suffering through this? I don't want to see it. I know you don't want to see it. Women's Tag Team title match, the Moronics versus Sasha Banks and Bayley. This, of course, is coming after last week. Sasha Banks and Bayley were here to gloat after the Moronics, of course, challenged them to a match earlier in the night. And Sasha Banks got slapped in the face, and Bayley accepted. As we started this match, Sasha was not ready. Bayley turned. They argued for a minute. Banks turned around and took a big boot from Billie Kay for a close 2 count. Basically, the Moronics dominated the majority of this match. Bayley yells at him for the Amigo attempt. Peyton Royce throws Banks into Bayley, knocks her to the floor. Banks kicks out of it too. Kay runs in for a double team, but Banks kicks her way out of the ring. Banks ends up transitioning into a Banks statement, and Peyton Royce taps out. The right team won, and the Moronics can go back to catering where they fucking belong. After the match, Banks and Bayley celebrate with their titles as Kay sells an injury on the floor, crying and complaining and throwing a hissy fit as well. They are now bragging. Banks admits that she gets a little jealous with Banks as Bayley talks about her both titles. She loves seeing her best friend happy, but she wants to experience that as well. She steps to Bayley and says she wants a title match. Fans chant yes, and she says she's officially challenging Asuka for the Raw Women's title at Extreme Rules. The chants turn to boos. Out comes Asuka. Asuka enters the ring and screams in Japanese and says, "You're not the boss of me. I accept." Bayley attacks. They beat the hell out of her into the backstabber into the bank statement, and Asuka is made to tap out. Now, the match I am not against at all. I'm against the fact that Bayley and Sasha Banks are tag team champions, yes, but they are SmackDown superstars. They do not come to Raw except to defend the tag team titles. That is it. They are not Raw superstars. They don't get to go after the Raw Women's Championship. If you're going to do this, merge the fucking divisions, giving us a tag team titles and a women's championship, and that is it. If you're going to do this again, end the brand split, which I know Vince McMahon has wanted to do since the beginning of the fucking year, and go on with having one group, one roster on both shows where SmackDown becomes the C show again and becomes the Raw rematch show again, and just end this shit already. Sarah Schreiber approaches MVP and Bobby Lashley. She asks if Lashley was making a statement by attacking R-Truth. He says, "I should be the WWE champion right now, but I'm not because of R-Truth, because of that clown." And said this was a way of introducing the locker room to the Hurt Business. MVP addresses Apollo Crews with his trick he beat Shelton Benjamin. Last week, MVP talks more about helping Crews be the best United States champion and refuses that help. Then that's on him. He walks off the VIP lounge and Lashley goes with him back to commercial break. Then we come back and we see Liv Morgan, who looks like she's about to cry, walking when Ruby Riott, who has been terrorizing her since she made her return, approaches her. But she's like, tonight's not tonight. Ruby comes up to her again and she's like, "Listen, last night didn't go my way. This week didn't go my way. Nothing has been going my way, and I don't need you making me feel worse. She walks us off as Liv Morgan is just like, and that was that. So WWE spent the entire time breaking these two up under Paul Heyman. And now Bruce Witch is like, well, let's put these two back together. Maybe we hire Sarah Logan again and we make the Riot Squad whole again. Who the fuck knows? Good fucking grief. Back to the ring, and MVP is in the VIP lounge. He brings out the United States Champion and says he feels right with the US Champion being in the ring. He respects Cruz after the recent match, but then Cruz, of course, the one for the Money in the Bank ladder match. But then Cruz recklessly blew out his knee, missing Money in the Bank. He went out before Monday night, then realized Cruz needs someone to help him navigate bad decisions. It says this title is Cruz's chance to get his daughter the life she deserves. Cruz interrupts and says he got where he is on his own and he earned the title shot by himself. He appreciates the offer, but the answer is still no. MVP goes on about the potential he sees in Cruz and one of the best United States champions, not better than MVP though, but in your own right. Says Cruz can be champion for a long time, but not without MVP in his corner. Cruz wonders how that is. He's been dealing with people like MVP all his entire career. He won't let MVP or the title change who he is. MVP says he tried to do this nice twice, but the third time won't be nice at all. Whether Cruz likes it or not, the US title is coming home to where it belongs, pointing to himself. Of course, there's always something in there for MVP. This, of course, brings out Mr. Shelton Benjamin, who has words. MVP speaks from ringside and asks Cruz, asks him for a moment. And he's like, hey, Cruz, I just want to, and then Shelton Benjamin attacks from behind, sends him out to the shoulder first into the ring post. MVP's like, advice number one, don't put yourself in a 2-on-1 position, a 2-on-1 situation because you're going to leave your blind side open. That one's for free. Next time it's going to cost you. Shelton Benjamin versus Apollo Crews. This was much of the same from last week, but Apollo Crews ends up hitting his throwing powerbomb, or his toss powerbomb as they called it, for the 1-2-3. It was a really short match. After the match, he stands tall. His music hits. We see MVP applauding. MVP tries to raise his hand, but he's like, get off me, don't you touch me. And then Bobby Lashley comes from behind, puts him into the full Nelson, rocks him down, completely knocking him out. MVP grabs the title, puts it on his waist, on his chest, and that was that. Rey Mysterio is backstage with Dominick, walks up and asks him if he's sure about this. He tells his son to trust him and let's go show the Monday Night Messiah how the Mysterio family rolls. They hug, we go to break, and we go to break. Back from break, and Mysterio is in the ring. His son Dominick. Rey talks about being worried when he realized his son was going to WWE Performance Center to avenge him. Not even the most confident father would think his son could get out of a 3-on-1 situation, but you did. And he's proud of his son. He's also angry at him for putting himself at risk. His mom was worried. Rey says Dominick knows how he's pissed off at Seth Rollins trying to blind him, but he's learned to accept that. Rey knows his son is bigger than him, but he's still his old man, and no matter how strong Dominick gets, Dominick will always be his child. The crowd cheers them on. Rey says since Dominick fought for him, now it's time for him to fight for his son. Rey says he's got this one, and he needs the revenge on his own. Rollins comes out. Dominick understands where he's coming from, but he's not going anywhere. Dominick says this is what a family looks like, Seth. And the family wants to fight. Out comes Rollins. Rollins speaks from the stage and wonders if he goes to the ring to slaughter a father and a son, or does he make Rey watch as he sacrifices his son. Rollins doesn't know what to do. Says it's not up to him. This is fate, prophecy, and destiny. Says they're both in the same place at the same time, and two's eyes are better than one. Drops the mic, walks down the stage, gets to the bottom of the ramp, and then gets on his knees at the bottom, puts his arms out, and out comes Theory and Murphy to the booze. Rollins says this is on Rey. Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo suddenly attack Murphy and Theory. So it's a 4-on-3 attack. Theory and Murphy are both taken out by Seth Rollins, by the other four guys. The Mysterios go to attack Seth Rollins' eye, but then Murphy and Theory come back at it. They take out Humberto Carrillo, Rey Mysterio, and Aleister Black. Then Seth Rollins tells them to get a hold of Rey Mysterio. Theory and Murphy hold Rey Mysterio as he grabs Dominick, is going to do the same thing to Dominick, is about ready to shove his face into that step when Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo come chasing him off with stairs. And that was how Monday Night Raw ended, with Rey Mysterio, Dominick, and Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo standing tall. This is all going to lead to, in my opinion, Rey Mysterio's son, Dominick, joining Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy, and Austin Theory. Unwillingly. Maybe. Unwillingly. Because it's going to be a match. I feel we're going to get a 6-man tag team match at Extreme Rules. Theory, Murphy, Rollins versus Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black, and Humberto Carrillo. With the stipulation, if Dominick will join Seth Rollins' crew, if Seth and his crew, the Monday Night Messiah, and his cronies win. That is where I'm going with this. But it was an okay segment to end the show. This was an WWE same shit, different day type of week. This show is just going to continue to get worse. Everything that Paul Heyman was building to the future is destroyed, and we're back to square one. This company is going to fucking suffer from here on out. But that is your Monday Night Raw review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. Find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys on Wednesday for AEW on TNT review, where we have had one match change, in which it's no longer Sammy Guevara because of things that happened earlier in the day. It is going to be Santana versus Matt Hardy. But until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.